Hey guys, thought I would share my task management task capture system. It has AI integrated and it's still built on top of Notion, but we will automatically capture all of the tasks from all of the different platforms that I use, add them into Notion, and then we will automatically schedule them on my calendar app. And it's automatically scheduled based on the prioritization or due date. If something needs to get done within a specific time, my calendar will automatically reschedule around the most urgent tasks, or if I have like an unexpected, like something pops up, like someone schedules a call or I book a flight, if I add that in my calendar, all of my tasks will automatically reschedule around that. And that is all handled via Motion. This is still built on like the Notion system that I spoke about before, and the reason I'm putting this together is I actually had a website that I didn't think anyone was reading, and I like took it down, and I was getting a few complaints in my DMs saying like that people liked reading like the recommended tools. And things like that. So I just thought I would actually open source this like entire thing. When I say open source, just kind of so that you can see the exact instructions and go and copy and paste them, or rebuild them in your own workflows. But yeah, so to give you like an overview of kind of how it works is, the goal of this system is to reduce all of the open loops, because we're kind of like distributed these days across so many different platforms. I get information sent to me on WhatsApp, on Telegram, in Slack. I get emails. I have people like reaching out to me in other ways. I find things online that I want to take notes of, and to kind of manage all of these things in a very like decentralized way is you're just left with a lot of open loops. So the goal of this system is to capture everything from all of the different applications that I use, process it through automation with AI, bring that all into Notion, so all of my tasks are kind of like clearly outlined under specific lists, so I don't need to remember them up here. They're all within Notion. Whether I execute on them or not is an entirely different thing, like based on the status or the priority of the tasks. And any tasks that I do confirm that I want to execute on, they're automatically scheduled in via Motion. I give them a priority, so I say this needs to be done ASAP, this is high priority, medium, or low priority. Or I can also give a specific due date, which means, let's say I have this task that needs to be done by X day, it needs to be done by next week Friday, it's non-negotiable, there's a deadline associated to it. Again, this will be handled by Motion, and Motion will schedule this in and literally through their algorithm prioritize my calendar based on exactly what I've told it on. These are my priorities and these need to be done by this day. It will reschedule automatically if things change. For example, if a call gets booked, if there becomes a new priority, a new task that has the status of ASAP, it will reschedule all of my other tasks accordingly to make sure that I am prioritizing what needs to get done. And this is like a whole assistance job in itself, just being done by AI. And unfortunately, like this is where kind of technology just really outperforms humans. Like I have a $3,000 per month assistant, and it would literally be a full-time job for her, and not a very fun one, to kind of reschedule and do all of this stuff that that Motion is able to do. And then I actually don't like the interface of Motion, so I literally just use it as an API, which then syncs over to my calendar app here. And that is where I actually execute on tasks. But we'll go through the entire system step by step, just so you can understand everything. Maybe you only want to take some parts of the system and implement them. Maybe there's like you feel it's too complex or whatever. But I would literally walk you through step by step everything that takes place. Other important thing I think to highlight is like my thought process within the design of this system. So first off, outlining the purpose. This system is designed to capture, process, and prioritize tasks in the most elegant way possible. So what I mean by that is we are just very like distributed these days. At least I am. I use so many different applications. People can contact you in so many different ways. You get information brought to you through Telegram, through WhatsApp, through Slack, through internet, through email, through scrolling Instagram or something. Maybe I'll screenshot something that I find interesting, whatever it may be. These are all open loops loops in my brain that need to be not necessarily closed, but yes, closed, but not necessarily executed upon. I just need to be able to offload them from my mind by bringing them into some type of system where I know if this is important, it will be executed on. And brings very nicely onto the next point. It's not a substitute. It doesn't actually get the work done. So just because you have a great system for task management in place, it doesn't mean that you actually execute on things. The goal of this is to remove as much friction as possible between what needs to get done and actually executing on the tasks. So the thing that I don't like about all other task management and project management apps, or most of them anyway, is yes, you spend a load of time getting everything down and integrated into whatever, like Todoist or something like that, but still it requires me to manually go through the tasks, assign them, like every time I want to start working, I need to go through and see this is what needs to get done next. And really, I don't want to do that. I just want to be able to open it and just jump straight into specific tasks based on priorities. And if you're working on one project, or if I'm working with my team, for example, apps like Todoist are really great, but when you're working on like multiple different projects, you can't kind of, or at least I find it difficult to just open one thing and think this is what I need to get done, and it increases the amount of friction in between starting to just getting things done. So instead, all I do now is open my calendar app, and I know that everything that I need to get done has been scheduled for me automatically. It also ensures that nothing is left behind, which kind of gives you like peace of mind. Again, the system still requires human input. The goal is that I give the system everything that I want to get done, and I tell it how important the task is for me based on a prioritization system. And then all tasks are scheduled in my calendar, fitting their allotted time slot. So if I say this is going to take me about 2 hours, this will take 1 hour, this will take 45 minutes, this will take 10 minutes. This is a very quick thing. Motion will automatically look for free slots within my calendar and schedule in what can be done and where it can be done. I'm also fully aware this system isn't going to be for everyone. I think a lot of people will find this like overly complex and maybe even expensive at times. It probably costs about $300 to $400 per month. I'm not really sure exactly, but there's a lot of different tools kind of in place here and a lot of rescheduling taking place of my tasks. And then final point is I've had people mention to me that they feel that I'm kind of like super organized, and I just felt it was worth clarifying. The reason I invest so much time in this system and building out these kind of automations is because actually naturally I'm not organized. I'm really quite unorganized, which is why I have like an extra focus on kind of building out systems and workflows such as this in my life that help kind of keep me in check, let's say. This is a kind of a high level overview of the system itself, so I'll just kind of show you how it works. So it starts off with, well, not in any particular order, by the way, but we have RayCast here, which is like a shortcut app that I use, which allows me to create tasks, share calendar links, and perform all different types of things. It's also got GPT built into it, so I can open an AI chat from anywhere. Top 10 restaurants in London, or I'm writing a lot of code at the moment, and it will just come back to me with like, it's very easy to work with code from the chat here. Next up is Apple Shortcuts. I also collect information and input that into the system from Apple Shortcuts. iPhone, Beeper, Superhuman for email management, Calendly for task scheduling, and Arc as a browser. And I'll go over all these a little bit more in a moment. Pipedream is an alternative to Make.com. This could definitely be built with Make. To be honest, as time is going on, I feel the transition from Integromat to Make wasn't a good one, and I was much happier using Integromat, to be honest. And I'm having like more and more issues with Make, and the pricing has also increased. So this is quite a high volume system, so I prefer to build it through Pipedream, where you can run custom code. And I also have GPT implemented throughout the system, but we'll go through that in a minute. Pipedream will then sync from all of these different platforms into Notion. Notion then handles all of my projects and all of my tasks. Motion is then used as an AI task scheduler, so they're integrated together. When something is integrated in Notion, when something is added into Notion from any of these input captures, I automatically give it a priority, and then Motion then knows to schedule it. And then this is Amie, maybe Amie. I think it's pronounced Amie. This is my favorite calendar management app, built on top of Google Calendar, but just like really nice interface. But again, we'll go through all of these one at a time. And I hope people don't mind me making this video in this like format of not actually showing you in real time. The reason being is that there's like, I'm taking you through my entire system. There's a lot of, let's say, like confidential information, like information from other people, messages and so on. So I've decided to do it in screenshots, as it just saves me a lot of editing after I've recorded. So let's start off with RayCast. What is the purpose of RayCast in the system? Simplified navigation, shortcuts integration, easy task capturing, Notion page searching, generally just a great productivity tool. So again, as I said, I'll open source or kind of make everything clear. This is how I actually use RayCast for like page navigation. So to open any apps, I just have them associated to like the first letter of the app name, or like, or not directly, but for example, to open Beeper, I have my shortcut here, Finder is here, Slack is here, Spotify under like music, and this just makes for very simple and easy task navigation. Here's like a video example of how RayCast actually works. So I can just go and create a task from here. So without me needing to navigate into Notion at any time, you'll realize that I very rarely navigate into Notion in this system. It just kind of operates as like the back end of everything that I'm keeping track of. Everything is done by integrating through other apps. So let's say that right now I have a thought of a task that I would like to complete. I can just press here, create task. I'm in full screen mode at the moment, but that will then just allow me to type out and enter a task. And this also, I use this for like so many different things. I've also built custom apps on RayCast as well. Really, really great tool. Next element of the system is going to be iPhone capture. So I'm assuming all of us spend a lot of time on our phones, and we're like often, if you're like, it's like a remote capture tool. So if I'm out and about and I see something that's interesting, this has a direct integration into Notion. Notion has a direct integration in the calendar app. So I can just play this, and anything that I find interesting, it can be text snippets. I can highlight it and press share. I can also make new tasks through my shortcuts that operate on the phone as well. I also have voice recording as well. So let me just slow it down. So I also have voice recording, where at any time, if I think, so if I'm private, like I can just write it out, like the first example you just saw. If it's a longer task, I can do like a voice note. The voice note will then be transcribed, it's then summarized with GPT, and it's split up into highlight points and and it gets any action items from there, and then it goes ahead and creates a task. Also, my like daily debrief, like my end of day review, I added it in on my phone as well, and again, this just syncs back to Notion. Health feelings, and so instead of, again, just removing all of the friction from this stuff, instead of me needing to open up Notion, navigate into today, open up and fill out each section, you see how easy it is for me just to fill out my daily achievements and so on, and it can literally be done from anywhere. Then if I find like a screenshot or a web page or something, you can just press the share button, press Notion, and add it in onto any page that you want. So this is how I close all open loops from my iPhone. As well, I do this, I use Arc as like a mobile browser. So any like websites that I find, I will just literally press the share button and add them into Notion as well. So that is how I do like remote capture. So I have text-based input, which was the first example that was shown. I have voice note-based input, and then we have the final option of like sharing into Notion as well. Next up, we have Beeper. This is currently where I manage all of my communication. So as you can see down here, I've had to, like I said, blur like a lot of open chats and things out. But this is like an all-in-one messenger app. So I have Telegram, WhatsApp, Instagram, Slack, a number of other platforms as well. I can't even remember off the top of my head. And this just allows me to seamlessly capture tasks and notes on things that are being sent to me throughout the day. So, like just as an example, another habit that I have, another automation I have is To each of the team leaders, I send them an automated message in Slack every day, asking them for like a rundown, particularly as I'm not in Georgia at the moment, I'm traveling around. It makes it much easier that I have like a daily overview of everything that took place and any issues that the team leaders are having and their proposed solutions to the issues. And so if they send me something in Slack and I think, okay, then there's an action item for me there, or there's a way that I can solve a problem for them, I can just bring up forward, and then I forward to my Telegram bot. And the great thing about Beeper is I can forward from any messaging platform. Forward to my Telegram bot. And so with Beeper, I can forward from any messaging platform, any message that comes in, I can forward it over to my Telegram bot. So if someone messages me on Instagram, I can actually still forward that same message to Telegram. It's not limited to just, I can only forward Instagram message to Instagram. No, it's like a kind of universal system. So if something comes in on Slack, I can forward it to my Telegram bot, and then my Telegram bot automatically adds it into my Notion database for it then to be processed later on. So any incoming messages that I have, whether it's, if it's like someone asking me that they need my attention on something, or there's whatever it may be, a group, there's like certain information being shared, I get feedback on something, there's a complaint, like whatever it may be, I can just forward over to Telegram and it will automatically be added into my Notion system. For email capture, the purpose of this is to stop using your email inbox as task management, and I know quite a lot of people do it. I also have this as like a bad habit myself. But the goal is to basically process email as fast as possible. So if it's something that like needs further attention and can't just be like a very quick reply, maybe it needs someone to look into something. I haven't got any screenshots actually, but it's a very simple automation. Essentially, all I do is forward the email, and I built like a capture address. So any email that I want to forward to, any email I want added into the Notion system, I forward it to an email address. And it's then processed by Pipedream, and then again it's added into my Notion. I use Superhuman for email management. It's like $30 per month, but massive time saver. I also use like Remind Me feature quite a lot, and you can also do forward and send later. So let's say there's something that I'm not quite ready to add into my system yet, I can say like forward this to me in 2 months, and that's when I'll deal with it. And just a general like advice for managing email: if you do use Superhuman, use the shortcuts. It becomes insanely fast to deal with email, and then unsubscribe from anything that is like unnecessary. From any shit people are sending you, they have the shortcut in there, Command U, and it's probably the shortcut that I use the most in Superhuman. Anything that is being sent to me that is like that I'm not interested in, that's pulling my attention away, I instantly unsubscribe or block. Next up, call management. So there's like a little extract that I've written up. Only when absolutely necessary will I allow people to schedule calls. I absolutely hate calls, to be completely honest, and I avoid them by all means necessary. I completely appreciate that they have their place in communication. Just for a lot of people, I feel that the default option is like, let's jump on a call or let's have a call. When for me, it should really be a last resort. And I think for most people who really like value their time, it's a last resort. You have no leverage in most cases over calls as a form of communication, unless it's I just don't find them efficient at all. I don't like them as a way of communication. The only like guaranteed way to get me on a phone call is $1,000 an hour, or if like, of course, it does reach a point where I see, okay, it's worth us like having a call on, for example, with like a business partner, if we've been like back and forward discussing something, and we just want to like run over something to like clarify each other's thoughts, or if there's like a complicated issue. Again, I completely appreciate that calls do have their place within communication. Of course they do. All I'm saying here is that calls for me are a last resort. When someone is coming to me saying like, let's jump on a call, especially like, and I get a lot of these, in most cases it reads to me that it's someone who doesn't value their time, or more importantly, that doesn't really value mine. So this is my kind of like workflow that I have is first off, like messaging for me is like the fastest way to deal with something. The other thing that I really hate is when someone asks, can I ask a question? It's like, it makes twice as much work that I need to reply to them saying, yes, you can ask a question, and then they actually need to send the question. It's just unoptimized communication. But messaging is like the easiest platform to me because I can just get back to someone whenever I have like a few minutes. If it's a very long message or something that's complex for me to explain, I have Apple shortcuts on my phone. Like on iPhone 15 Pro, you get the action button that you can just hold down and run a... No, it's not that, it's this one. That's why it wasn't working. You can just hold down and run a shortcut, and this is, again, using AI. So I can like ramble on for like a few minutes, just getting out the point that I want to, and AI will dictate all of the text and summarize into like key points, and then it copies it to my clipboard. So one negative of Beeper actually is that it doesn't have voice notes, which is why I built out this as a alternative to that, which allows me to use voice notes. So for example, if I'm like walking or if I'm out and about, I can do a voice note. AI will then summarize it and automatically copy it to my clipboard, and then I can just paste it into the Beeper conversation. So someone gets like a kind of highlighted voice note, but in text format. I hope that made sense. Next form of communication for me would be like a Loom or a voice note. Loom I really like, by the way. I use it quite a lot because I can record something once and share it with someone, and I can use it again and again and again just by sharing the link. And they've also added in like AI summarization, so it retitles your Loom based on what you were talking about. It also adds in AI chapters as well. So it's become like a much more interesting tool in terms of having like a searchable knowledge base in video format. And as everyone knows, with like these custom GPTs coming out and really kind of a real push in the way of AI, in my opinion, it makes sense for everyone to be documenting their knowledge as much as possible. Whether you choose to share it or who you choose to share it with, it is like an entirely different question. Perhaps you don't like sharing things publicly, but you would be able to take all of the Loom videos that you've ever recorded, for example, and turn all of your knowledge into your own GPT, like AI assistant. So I think just with like, I'm not sure it's quite ready there. I'm sure you could do something like that, but I just think as this technology keeps evolving over the next year or two, to be kind of offloading a lot of your thought processes and brain into media format that you can then train an AI model on your exact thought process, which we're literally not that far away from, as crazy as that sounds, because like already they support they support text format, and it would just be a case of getting transcripts of all of my videos, uploading them into a custom GPT, and using all of the videos that I've recorded over the years for like private communication between the teams as a knowledge base. So instead of people coming to me with questions, first they can go and talk to my AI assistant that is literally trained on my own data. So yeah, just a side tangent there, but just an interesting thing that really we're not that far away from. If a call is immediately needed, I will try to do it immediately if possible, just to knock it out as quickly as possible. Or otherwise, if it's like something that I'm already busy, I will use Calendly. So this is my shortcut. I also use the iOS app, so all the links are very easily accessible. My default will be like a 15-minute call. I hate, you would hear me moaning a lot about calls, but to keep it very short, I think makes it very succinct in people's communication, because they feel they haven't got time to waste. And then of course, if the call is like, if it's really worth increasing the length of the call, you can always extend, right? To by default book in a 1 hour or 30-minute call when you've got no idea how it, like, if it really needs that long, doesn't really make sense to me. So I forget the name of the law now, but every task fills the allotted time associated to it. So try to keep the call as short and direct as possible, whilst making sure that all the key points are communicated. Again, call link is always on hand. With one click, I can just do share meeting link, and here it pops up, so I can just share that with anyone very, very quickly. Now, so that's basically like all the task capture. So you've kind of now see all the different platforms that I ingest data from that then get synced over into Notion. So that's like this kind of top area here. And now we're going on to how things are actually processed in Notion and how this all looks. So by the way, this is again all done through PipeDream. Like this is, if we actually zoom in here, this is calling a PipeDream endpoint. So whenever I do a voice note, again, we encode this, and this is a PipeDream workflow that I mentioned. So PipeDream will receive this dictated voice note. We encode all of the words. I summarize it. I get a title of it. I extract any action items, and then we create a Notion database. We create an item within our Notion database. So now we're actually getting into the Notion database itself. Where am I? Here we go. So this is my Notion database. Again, this is literally just my tasks database. I probably have about 30 different databases within Notion, but just to keep it very simple and straightforward, I only want to focus on the task element in this video. Notion here is used as the database / backend management. This is the structure of my task management database. So we've got a load of other fields, by the way, that aren't visible, but they're kind of more like private and not super relevant to how this actually functions. Task name, status. So status is automatically set based on motion, and then priority. So as I mentioned, this is built in with motion, and this is also the same parameters that motion uses. Motion uses a high, medium, low, and ASAP system. So that's why I integrated this same system within Notion. So it syncs back and forward very easily. And then we have a motion task ID. So what happens here is a task is in a not started status, or if I manually set it to in progress, it will be synced over to motion and be given a motion task ID. So if this is a not started task, if I give this a priority and I say this is now high priority or even low priority, it means it's something that I'm looking to complete, in which case it will also automatically be synced over to motion. So these would all have been not started tasks to begin with. And then it's created in motion, and then I have a Notion automate. Sorry, this is very confusing even for me. When it is created within motion, I then have an automation in Notion where when a motion task ID is added, when it's edited, the status is then automatically set from not started to in progress. And this is the point: when a task is in progress, it means it has a motion task ID, and it means it's scheduled on my calendar. So by the way, my work process on this is just every single week. What I do is I open up Notion and I do a weekly review, which I do anyway, and I can basically check when is everything scheduled for. I can give priorities. So if I want to get something done this week, I can give it a priority of high or ASAP or medium, depending on where I want it to be scheduled on my calendar and how urgent it is. And that is literally it. That is the only thing that's done. So everything is captured from here. Once per week, I will go in here and kind of schedule everything. This is super important. This needs to be done now. I will open Notion a few times throughout the week, if there's something that I really need to get done ASAP. But otherwise, I'm just otherwise I literally just go through it once per week and give the different priorities and let motion handle everything else. So now onto motion. Motion is the AI task scheduling assistant, as I mentioned already. All I do is outline what I want to get done, the priority of each task, and if it has a hard deadline, Motion will then just plan out my entire schedule and put all of my tasks in Google Calendar. You may be wondering, why do I not just manage everything within Motion? And it's for a very silly reason, and that's because I don't like the interface. And just slightly to do with a lack of flexibility as well. But the biggest reason is genuinely because I'm not a fan of the interface. For me, it feels a little bit clunky. It's a little bit slow. So I literally just use, and it's very funny to say this, but I literally just use Motion as an API, and it's actually complicated to do, which I'll go through in a minute. Just a few features of Motion here. It automatically reschedules missed tasks. It automatically updates based on changes in my schedule. So if I went in and added I've got a call now, it will go ahead and reschedule my other tasks. Again, always based on their priorities. It always updates based on highest priority tasks. I'm not a big fan of the dashboard, and I use it solely as an API. I think they do a really, really good job of scheduling of tasks. But in terms of being an actual project management tool, I think there's just a lot of other tools They also offer habit scheduling, by the way, which is actually really, really good. So I can say I want to complete this habit on these days at this specific time, and I can give it 50 habits, and it will go ahead and find spots throughout my week to do them in. I can say a preferred time to do them, so I prefer this one at 9 a.m., this one at 11 a.m., and again, it will just fit my whole schedule around. It will fit my whole schedule around what I want to get done. Custom schedules. So for example, I can say this is like a personal task, so we'll do it in the evening or early morning, and whatever else. I can block off time in my calendar, which I actually do, and we'll go over that in a minute. I can set working hours for specific projects, or I can say only schedule work tasks between 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then again, it automatically syncs over to Google Calendar. So this is just giving you like an interface and a scheduling engine on top of Google Calendar. To tell the truth, to get this to actually work, I have to use two different calendars. Otherwise, Notion and Motion get into a scheduling infinite loop with each other where they keep trying to reschedule as a change is made. So I actually have this integrated with a backup calendar, and then I copy all of the tasks, again, done automatically, of course, but I sync all of the tasks from my backup calendar over onto my main calendar. Finally, for this system, we come down to Amie, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right. This is one of my favorite apps. It's calendar app plus task management plus Notion integration. Why do I like it? For the very simple reason of beautiful UI and UX and just very clean to work with. To some people, it may sound like funny, but I like working with tools I enjoy working with, and I enjoy good design. So if I'm going to spend a lot of my time and my life working, why not invest in tools and things that are actually pleasant and pleasing to work with? The same applies for like physical equipment, like a camera. Like here, this is like a much better quality camera than I need, particularly as I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to videography. I think a lot of good videographers would be quite jealous of the amount I spent, but it's touchscreen. I can plug it in with one cable and it removes all the friction from me recording YouTube videos, which is why I like to invest in good tools like laptops as well. I will always invest in like ridiculous spec laptops that in reality I don't really need, because I'm not a video editor. I'm not doing anything that's like requires insane requirements of CPU, but for me, just having like a pleasant experience whilst using a laptop. I do actually have like hundreds of tabs open at most times, but yeah, just invest in tools that make work enjoyable for you. So that can be software or like physical equipment. And again, just to clarify, Amie is actually the only app that I have interaction with for completing tasks. The reason this system seems so complex, or is so complex, but it's because I've just shown you all of like the kind of back end of what's going on behind the scenes. Whereas in reality, the only two platforms I ever have any interaction with are Amie and Notion. And like, of course, these other like capture scenarios, but these are apps that I use anyway. I haven't added them as part of my system. My system is actually built around these. These are tasks, things that I was using before. So, of course, everyone's using email. Everyone, I assume, is using like getting Instagram DMs, WhatsApp messages, iMessage, Slack, whatever else. So these are tools that are kind of, they're not there for the system. I was using them prior to this, and I have integrated them into my system so everything can be brought into Notion. I hope that came across. And the other great thing about Amie is that it integrates with Notion. So these tasks are actually a Notion-based integration. So I don't need to go into anywhere. All I need to do is open this and mark it as done. Again, really nice UX. Like they've got a nice little animation on there. It's really pleasant to work with. And you can see down here, this is how it looks when it's actually being ticked off. So it's now a completed task, and we just need to wait for that to sync back into Motion, which I have running every 15 minutes, at which point Motion will reschedule. Oh, what's happened here? At which point Motion will reschedule my calendar. Speaking of investing in good equipment, it looks like it's time for a laptop upgrade. When it's completed, Motion will then go ahead and reschedule and fill that available time slot with a new task. Also up here, you'll see my current goal is maximize fitness. it's my quarterly target. So this I assign for a 90-day period, and you can also open it and have any text notes that you want there. So normally I fluctuate between fitness, although it hasn't been that much recently, but again, I'm making fitness a priority in my life again. But many other times it will be a focus on kind of maximizing revenue or on a specific project. And here on the left, by the way, you can see all my goals, and I just like being able to tick them off. Any like little tasks, I can also add in here and then just schedule as well. But literally, I do everything through the Notion system these days because it's so seamless. This is also the Amie mobile app. They have a really nice mobile application. It has a split screen view, so I can have all of my tasks down here, and I can drag them on if I want to. And I can also just press, it's not going to show now, but I can just tick them off as and when they're done, so when I'm out and about. And again, as soon as this is ticked off, it will update Notion that the task has been done, which will then update Motion that the task has been done, and then Motion can go ahead and reschedule a new task into that available slot. The other thing that I really like about Amie is they have sleep tracking, so this integrates with Apple Health. You can see this thing here that I slept until just about 8 a.m. Today. And so I actually overslept from my tasks because I've just changed time zones because I've been traveling. Then I have unstructured work scheduled for 3 hours in the morning. What that actually means for anyone who's interested is I have, after many years of doing it completely wrong, I've realized because I manage a team and I get messages like when the team comes in at 9 o'clock in the morning. Again, the reason it's 8 a.m. is because there's a time zone difference currently between me and the team, but that's scheduled for 9 a.m. Georgian time. When the team comes in the morning, they often have questions. Maybe there's an issue, they need my attention on something, they need whatever. So I actually set aside the first 3 hours of the day to be available for any fires that the team need me to put out, whatever the issue possibly is. And so I just like to leave kind of almost half of the day to be available for me to deal with any issues that are coming up for the team. It doesn't mean that I'm sitting around doing nothing, by the way. It means I don't plan on I won't be upset at myself or feel disappointed if I didn't get anything done in the morning because I was available and dealing with things that needed my attention. However, if nothing is coming to me, if the team's doing really well, which happens fortunately quite a lot, my next scheduled tasks are appearing down here, and I can just start working on those. I can start making a dent in those, but the priority is me being on Slack, and whenever an issue comes in with the team, I will jump straight on that, because I kind of get annoyed when people distract me from work, to be honest. So yeah, well, like now I don't get annoyed because I have it set out in my calendar that the morning time is set for me to work on the team. Any spare like time that I have, I can start making a dent in my afternoon tasks anyway, so it's absolutely fine. But this has been, it sounds very simple, but it's been really quite a good, it just takes a lot of pressure off feeling that you need to start getting things done straight away. And of course, like the team need my support on things, on getting things done. So for me to kind of put together a block of time in the morning for me to deal with everything works very well. And the other reason it works well is because hopefully by the morning I've fixed all their issues, and in the afternoon they can continue working without any like hiccups, without any issues coming up. So I solve everything for them in the morning, and by the afternoon it's relatively smooth sailing for them. The other thing that you'll see down here is a Spotify integration. This I really, really like as well because it tells me when I was focused. So I actually have an automation that I built as well. This is a little bonus automation I'll give you. This is using Keyboard Maestro. I've not got them here, but if I literally just put on my AirPods Max, I don't need to press anything. It will automatically activate Spotify and start playing a particular playlist for me. And it will turn on Do Not Disturb mode. So it will stop me getting any messages on Slack. It will stop people being able to interrupt me. And then after that, it will actually sync over to Spotify. And this is a screenshot, but if you hover over it, it tells you what you were listening to. And I know whenever I'm listening to Spotify, because it's from this automation being executed, it means I'm in a flow state. So I want to see as much of my calendar being filled up with this green Spotify state as possible, and that is when I know that I was working. You also see here like the quarterly target. I've also considered doing like a daily summary so that it's easily accessible to me, but for the time being that's currently still kept within Notion. closing thoughts. The system, and I completely get it from me, like explaining this and just taking 40 minutes to go through this. I'm sure a lot of people are going to think like, why not just use like Todoist or use whatever people choose to use for project management. Again, I would say the system isn't actually that complicated at all. I spend all of my time within Notion, and sorry, I spend very little time within Notion. I spend 95% of my time within Amie, within the desktop app or the mobile app, and the rest of my time is really spent on task execution. For me, this is just a dream workflow that I get up, I wake up in the morning, and I literally just have my day scheduled of these are according to what I've told Motion, these are the most important tasks that I need to get done. And I just open it and literally it's just straight into execution mode. An ideal day for me is help the team in the morning, headphones on, into a flow state and just knocking out these tasks. And of course, if I get them done faster than the allotted time, which in many cases I do, it will just reschedule and say, these are the next most important things. And there's no friction in terms of getting your tasks completed. Everything is just given to you. You're almost given literally a scheduled to-do list of this is what you need to get done, and then you're just left to execute on it. Everything else is like really seamless in terms of not having any open loops. I'm sure that most of you must have the problem, or at least I did, and I know I get quite a lot of people contacting me from YouTube or from various different things, perhaps more so than normal, so it was a bigger problem for me. But I'm sure a lot of people get contacted a lot more than I do as well, and this is just a really nice way, at least for me, to process all of the incoming requests that I have of me, all of the communication. Like for example, if I get a message in Slack and then I need to go and copy it and go and move into my task management system and paste it in there and add it to the right project, it's just a lot more steps, and me being able to like forward it over or literally just press one button. So yeah, this is the system that I've built. It's taken, I wouldn't say it's taken, but I've been working on this system for about 3 years in total now, and this is kind of the latest iteration. So yeah, I hope it was interesting. I hope that you learned something from the system. Any kind of feedback or questions, as always, feel free to leave a comment. And I also promise I will get back to making the rest of the other videos in Notion. Next time I will show you how we manage tasks within the Amie dashboard as well.